Welcome to Step by Step, hosted by your main guy here, Frederick Smith. This is our first time coming on with our show, and we want to welcome everybody that's joining us today. We want to thank everybody that's tuning in. This show, I want to do some things as far as, some subjects that, a lot of the mainstream shows and stuff don't cover, based mainly because they're looking for ratings, but that's not something I'm looking for. So I just want to help, or communicate with those people that I can touch and communicate with. So we're going to be talking about different subjects, different topics, and I will also would like to invite all of you guys to send in requests if you want to talk about something, or if you got something on your mind you want to just put out to the masses. That'll sound, just let me know. If it sounds good, we'll put it together and we'll present it. But this name of the show is Step by Step, and it is building our community and our families one step at a time, step by step. And it's not like we're going to come on a certain day of the week or certain nights. It's just going to be random shows that will come on based on the topics that we have. And guests, I am planning on having guests come about. But tonight, I want to start the first show off tonight to stop, talking about men. Now, the show is not going to be a long, drawn-out show. It's going to be a little small show, maybe 10 minutes snippets. The reason being is because I know people are busy. So if you're like me, you can't be sitting around watching, something, like this for a half an hour, 45 minutes or an hour, especially with no commercials. But this pretty much just to start conversations at the dinner table, conversations with your kids. Like tonight's show, I want to talk to the men. I want to talk to the young men. I want to talk to the fellas out there about where we are and how we're looked at and where our standing is in America as black men. I really think that we should start with looking at the home. I've noticed as I live here right outside of Metro Atlanta. I'm from Mississippi though. So I get a chance to travel back. I have a daughter in Kentucky, so I travel a little bit, seeing family and friends and whatnot. But I've noticed that a lot of young men nowadays are really keen on building families. Now, when I was coming up, that's when those statistics were really bad. A lot of guys was having kids by multiple women. The women wasn't holding these guys accountable. They'll go from one woman, have a child, go over to another woman, have a child, go over to another lady and have a child. It was as if, that guy had no kind of structure, nothing that'll hold him back from having kids. Now, myself, when I had my daughter in Kentucky and I was placed on child support, trust me, that was enough right there for me to bag up on thinking about having kids. When you get those people, taking your money out your checks. And, don't get me wrong, I didn't mind taking care of my daughter. It's just the fact they leave you no choice. It's as if, it's a lot standing against you if you don't pay that child support. You can lose your license, you go to jail, lose your job, all types of things. But I didn't fall into any of those categories, thankfully, thank God for it. But, the fear was there, because I was always, it was always in my mind that I didn't want to fall behind my child support. I didn't want to be on no billboards or anything like that. Plus, I wanted to take care of my daughter. She was mine. My wife I'm with now, we have I have 3 kids with her, but 2 of them are my biological kids. But, I've learned a lot as far as families. I've come to understand that every young man needs his father in his life at some point. I don't care. I know there's some good women out there, and I've been hard on women. I really have. I remember I used to say all the time, the good women, good mothers make sorry sons, because they're good mothers and they mean well. But when it comes to raising a man, you know, it seems like they go off the left end, because their women are more nurturing, and their way of showing tough love is just raising their voice. But dad would say, okay, well, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to get out on your own 2 feet. Mom can't see her son being put out. I mean, mom can't do that. But dad can. You never want to get to that point, but, you know, sometimes young men, it takes you have to start that fire up under them to get them to move, because if not, they'll be stuck on your couch. And just think about it. You're creating this man or this young guy for somebody's daughter. And just think about it. You're raising this young man, and he's going to be the husband or the father of somebody's daughter's children. And you want them to be responsible. You want them to be able to make sound decisions best they can. You know, there's no rule book for being a man. I mean, nowadays, you know, the definition of a man is kind of distorted. You know, you've got all kind of stuff going on when it comes to being a man. But I guess that'll be a show for another day. But we've got to get back to the basics. We do. And I do understand a lot of people miss the buck, because, you know, they're out there trying to make, you know, financial means to make ends meet. You know, some people working 2 and 3 jobs, you know, but I also know a lot of people that goes out there and work hard because they want to buy toys and, you know, nice cars and have 4, 5, 6 cars, motorcycles. But then their kids are suffering. Their kids are suffering at home, even though we are giving them the materialistic things. You know, the kids have the nice home, they got their own bedrooms and whatnot. But when it comes to that teaching moment where these young men and women are being able to be taught how life is, and a lot of times we're more so reactive versus being proactive. We wait until something happens, our child get in trouble, or an incident happens in the neighborhood, or something happens and we get fearful of, is my child involved in this? Or they call you and say your child is involved. Okay, now what's going to come of this? You know, and we wait till those type of situations happen, and then that's when we want to sit them down. But sometimes it might be too late. You know, we want to start early. We want to start teaching our kids. And man, let me tell you something. I know it's tough sometimes if you're not with the daughter's mother or the son's mother, the child's mother. And I understand those scenarios. I understand that sometimes it get kind of rough. But this is about the child. That's just what this is about. This is about the child. You know, we have to remember this. We chose these women to lay down with. And same thing with the women. You chose these men to lay down with. These are choices that we made. So now we can't regret our choices when we have a child because this man or this woman didn't live up to the standards that we thought. All of this one night stand stuff and messing around stuff, listen, if you don't want to bring any kids out of a situation like that, if you laying down with a man or you laying down with a woman and you have an unprotected sex, then common sense would tell you there's a strong possibility that person can get pregnant. So now you have to ask yourself before you go to bed with these men and women, and I'm sorry if some kids are watching, I'm not trying to be X-rated or anything, I'm just being truthful. If you're going to lay down with these men and women, make sure that you think about this. Would I be willing to raise a child with this man or with this woman? Is this somebody that I can see having a child with? Now, if the answer is no, then you need to make some choices. You either make sure that they're wearing a condom, and that's not 100%, but you make sure they wear a condom. That's better than nothing. Or you decide to move on and, save that for another day. But that's a choice we have to make. But I'm really shocked and I'm really surprised, and it's really a good surprise that a lot of young men are stepping up nowadays. A lot of young men, you don't have to, and I think it's because, well, when I was coming up, gangster rap had hit the scene, and that's when it was real popular to call women out of their names and trying to be a gangster. That's when all that the glamorous life came about, and that's when everybody really was trying to become a drug dealer, want to be the man on the block. But now that so many people has gone to prison, so many people got caught up in being hooked on drugs, they start selling and they end up using, and they end up becoming addicts, losing everything, going to prison for years, losing their family, catching diseases, all kind of stuff. After those lessons had been learned, I think a lot of young people nowadays, I think the persona of men and women, they still have the gangster rap out there, but when you see these guys now, a lot of them are wearing suits. A lot of them now are talking about owning businesses. A lot of them, are talking about, being businessmen versus being on the street corner trying to sell drugs. Now, that's still going on, don't get me wrong, because they're trying to sell tapes and albums. But when you look at their lifestyles, these guys are not on the corner. These guys are not like Ice Cube and Easy them was back in the day. God rest, Easy soul, but, Ice Cube is a businessman now. Mac 10 and all those guys, they businessmen. Now, I don't know what they're doing on the side, but, I mean, they businessmen. When you see these guys, they making legitimate, clean money. Ice Cube, when he leaves his shows, he goes home with his wife and kids. He's not at the nightclub partying all night and throwing away his money. But I'm thankful and I'm grateful that a lot of kids, a lot of these young men, whom I hope that we can get to a point to where we can kind of slow down on teenage pregnancies and get our young ladies more interested in going to college versus having a kid young, because that's not glamorous. That's really not glamorous. But I understand sometimes it'd be a little mental situation happening sometimes. Some of those girls might have grown up without a dad, or grown up with a single mom at work all day, and they spend so much time alone. They felt like a lot of young ladies feel that they don't have nobody, so a lot of them end up looking for love in the wrong places, and a lot of them want to have kids because they want to have somebody that loves them unconditionally. The love that they feel in their heart for their parents or for that young man that they feel might be the perfect guy for them at that time, they want somebody to feel that way about them. And a lot of times in life, especially when you're younger, you're going to hit a lot of bumps in the road when it comes to that. So a lot of them are reaching out for just love. And when you have a baby, a lot of times that's the love that they want. They look down and say, this child is mine, and I know he's going to love me. He'll never turn his back on me. So, I get it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I think that we need to start curbing this phenomenon in our communities to try to help us get back on track. Trust me, I'm a living witness that, you can always turn it around. I started heading down the wrong road for some reason, which I know what the reason was. I wanted to, I wasn't happy with who I was. I wasn't happy in my own skin. And I found myself a lot of times trying to rebuild my image, which I understand now that we are created in the image of God. And one of the ways that Satan lures in is that he changes that image so that he can deal with us more one-on-one. If he can change that image of God, which he hates, get you to drinking and doing things that's ungodly, then you're not in the image of God now. You're vulnerable to him. So he can camouflage things, especially as a young kid if you don't have the guidance, and that's another thing. We have to stop assuming because of a person's parent. that somehow they're actually getting what they need. We need to stop looking at materialistic things. So, well, you got this, you got that, you got this. I tell people all the time, yeah, I had a lot of materialistic stuff, but a lot of the things that I saw my friends having, I wish I had. When I used to go to my friend's Steve's house or my friend Clevander's house, my friend's Christopher Maber's house, and I used to go to their houses and see them interacting with their mothers and how their mothers treated them, and I wanted that. I would have gave up all that materialistic stuff, you know, to have that love or to be able to feel that warmth and that secureness that a mother gives you. And you know, it was tough on me coming up, you know, with that, you know, and a lot, you know, it made me feel bad because a lot of people was always telling me, "Oh man, you got this, you got that," but they didn't see what was going on the inside of me. They only saw what was happening on the outside. And what was on the outside wasn't really real. You know, it was what was going on, the pain that I suffered on the inside is what that I struggled with. And, you know, coming up, you know, I was always trying to find my identity, you know. I got into the music game and I wanted to dress a certain way. You know, I wanted to drive a certain car because I was just trying to find myself. I didn't know who I was at that age because my daddy was a great man. He's gone on to glory now, but he was a great man. I respect my father. My father was an intelligent man. He was a funny guy. Everybody loved him. But when it came to home time, when my dad came home, he was pretty much, you know, he was going to bed. You know, he didn't ask me did I do my homework. He didn't ask me what was going on in my life. My dad wasn't really this hands-on type guy. He was kind of your man's man, you know. He wasn't this emotional type fellow, you know. Me and my dad, we never even told each other we loved one another. I think we told each other that maybe once that I can remember. I mean, we didn't have that. We was more like friends with respect, you know what I mean? It's more like a friendship versus a father and son type of relationship. And so it was a lot of things that didn't happen. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a good life and my dad treated me good, but it was just some things in the parenting department was kind of lacking. But as I got older, I understood he could only give me what he had because his mother died when he was young. And his dad raised him and his 6 brothers and his sister. And, you know, he only could give me what he had in him. And that's the way his father had raised him. His father wasn't this emotional attachment type of father. His dad was pretty much, he was out working and taking care of things. And when he came home, you know, hey, is everything done? He's ready to go to bed. So my dad gave me, even though, yeah, he could have did a lot better, but I mean, he gave me what he had, what he saw, that made, he felt like, well, he made it. And he went through certain things, so I should be able to make it too. You know, I mean, that's the way a man is raised. But I tried to raise my son a little differently. But again, I tell you that there is no book on raising children. I learned that the hard way. When it comes to raising kids and they're going through their different stages in life, their different emotions, I'm telling you, I didn't realize that I would be on a roller coaster with them. It was many times I went back in my bed and sit down beside the bed and felt like I was a failure as a father. It's like, my kids probably gonna hate me, you know. I mean, I really felt that. And I remember when growing up, kids, you know, parents would say, you know, I don't care about you getting mad, and I don't care about your feelings being hurt. I don't care about this. And I'm like, you know, what happened? Why I can't be that parent? You know, were they just pulling my leg? But it was many days that I went back in my bedroom and thought about, you know, some situations that had probably happened with my kids. But I had to stay firm because I didn't want to lose none of my kids to statistics. I didn't want any of my kids to become statistics. I didn't want my son to become some guy in jail, you know. And we was in Stone Mountain, Georgia when we first came here, and that's a pretty rough area. And I didn't want my son to get recruited by the gangsters and gangbangers and become a street corner thug. I didn't want him to do that. I wanted him to experience the better things in life. So we decided to move here in Gainesville, which I'm happy I did. But I kind of sheltered him to the point to where when he got, I failed at not getting him ready for the world. He was ready for Gainesville. He enjoyed Gainesville. But Gainesville is a town to whereas it's not really urban, if I could use that word. So when he got more or less to go out into the world, he made a lot of mistakes because I didn't get him prepared for those types of situations that he might see out in the world one-on-one with a lot of these. It's so much going on nowadays. When I was coming up, the biggest drug that was out there was marijuana, and then crack cocaine came on the scene. But nowadays, they making drugs out of everything. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier tonight from Oklahoma, and he was telling me something called water. I've never heard of no water. I mean, I drink regular water, but a drug called water. He said something about you putting cigarettes in embalming fluid, and I don't know. But anyway, nowadays it's different. You got all the prescription drugs. You got everything under the sun, and so these kids are going out here now. The temptation has them, and I'm glad my son didn't get hooked on any of that stuff. But it's prominent in our society. And we've got to teach our young men and women how to handle these things. We got to do something to curb our kids from drugs and getting in trouble and going to jail. The jails are packed with our kids. And we got to figure out something. We've got to figure something out. I mean, something has to be done, but we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. If we have to do it step by step, we're going to do it. But I think I'm going to end it here right now today. But I want to encourage everybody, if you want to leave messages or comments about what you think about the show so far, the first show, any kind of recommendations on topics or any questions you might want the show to address, please feel free to leave it down at the bottom there, or if you want, you can email it. We have an email address. Is step by step, the letter Q, number 1 at gmail.com. That's step by step Q1 at gmail.com. Feel free to leave messages, to send us stories, anything that you want to express with us. Feel free to do so. And if you want, if it's okay, you can let us know if you want us, if it's okay if we use maybe some of your emails or some of your correspondence on the show. But if not, if you send an email and you want it to remain confidential, if it's something you just want to confess, get off your heart, those type things, if you want it to remain confidential, just say so, and you won't have to ever worry about it getting out or anything like that. But I just want to say God bless you. I want to thank you, those of you who are tuned in and giving us a chance tonight. And we want to just come into your homes and try to enlighten people and let people know we love them. And we're going to try to tackle everything one step at a time, step by step. But I also want to say this, tonight's show, we don't never do anything to promote any kind of sinful lifestyle, anything. I know I was talking about sexual situations, but we're not condoning premarital sex. But the thing about it is people do partake in these type things, and that's just a part of life. And we want to meet people where they are. We're not judging people. We're not trying to tear people down. We just want to give people an enlightenment and let people know that we understand and that we're here to help. We're not condoning anything, but we're going to work on it. And one way you work on changing things, you have to do it step by step. So we're going to meet you where you are. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to condemn you. We're here to love you. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to the show, and we'll see you next time.